How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL, and welcome back to the Deadline with Dayvy stream for Game Week 25. Not exactly on the deadline, I explained over on Twitter there, just some kind of scheduling issues and issues that I can't control, but I still wanted to get this stream out for you guys. So hopefully if you don't watch it now, maybe it's a bit early for you wherever you are in the world, maybe you've just woken up, you can always go and check it out later on. I'll make sure that it's uploaded before the deadline. Just to start off the stream, get it out the way, we have one football sponsorship. Once again, they're sponsoring this video. Go check them out, link down below. iOS and Android, a free application to let you know all about your upcoming matches. It's going to be quite useful in the upcoming game weeks with all those doubles and blanks, and we can hopefully keep our eyes on that. But otherwise, getting into my own FPL team and the chat so we can see who's in here. So I saw someone, we have Brandon Shapiro reminding me on Twitter as well that not many people know about load shedding. So that's why this stream is so early. Basically what load shedding is if the country can't keep up with the electricity demand, such as turbine issues and kind of mechanical problems at the power stations. They cut the power off for a couple of hours. Excuse me there, so that they can kind of lessen the load, hence load shedding. So my load shedding is happening from 11 to 1:30 today, and my deadline is at 1:30. So unfortunately, can't get that stream out then, but thanks for reminding me about that. Not many people are South African, so thanks Brandon Shapiro. We also have Nick Kamal saying, how's it? And Brandon as well. Diraj saying he was in the office, and he's came here straight away. So hopefully I'm not distracting you from any important work there, Diraj, but thank you for joining. We also have Lewis B, who was the first in chat, as well as and Nimrod saying, ach, no, ja, no, lekker man. So hopefully you guys are all good. Going on to what my team is looking like, it hasn't really changed at all since the last deadline, or even the team selection. I haven't really done much. If you haven't watched the team selection, we had a pretty good game week last week, with the double game week, obviously using our triple captain, which took us up to 63k. Unfortunate if you did manage to use a triple captain on someone like Sadio Mane, that's just unlucky. Personally, my whole kind of take on Sadio Mane is I'm going to be keeping him. Reason being, I don't think there's anyone this week that I really want. The only players that I might look at is maybe Sergio Aguero or Aubameyang, but that would require a hit. And if I'm going to be taking a hit to get Sadio Mane out with these fixtures, especially because he's probably just going to be missing the one, there is a 2-week break after this fixture. So that looks quite good. I'm probably just going to be keeping him, benching him. The only concern about my own FPL team that I do have is the whole benching situation. Kelly and Lundstrom, some people are saying that they're probably not going to be starting this week, and that would mean that Connolly and Rico would have to come off the bench, which would be quite worrying. I think even with Connolly, is a bit of a rotation risk there. But I could maybe make a transfer, maybe the likes of Kelly or Lundstrom out for Lascelles or someone like that. Newcastle have some nice fixtures coming up, which could be quite good. But otherwise, I'm probably going to be just sticking and using 2 free transfers in that upcoming 2-week break. How are your guys' teams looking and transfers looking? I think basically what we're going to be doing in this stream is probably going to be a little bit shorter than the whole hour. I'll probably make it about 30 minutes. So we're just going to kind of have a rapid fire question and answer session because I do feel quite bad that I am missing the deadline. Hopefully there should be some early team news from the Leicester-Chelsea game. I think a lot of people might be waiting for that. If Vardy is benched for that game, it might be quite hard to hold on to him. He has Wolves away, then Man City, but then they go on a nice run. I do have a lot of money stored in him, so that's probably the only thing putting me off. But I know a lot of other managers are kind of waiting for team news, and if Vardy doesn't play, they'll move him on for the likes of maybe Jimenez, Mupai, or even Aubameyang if you want to kind of stretch your budget. Otherwise, in chat, we also have a lot of people saying, how's it? Michael Asfedin saying, morning, early stream. Yeah, it is quite early. J-Boy from Australia, so not going to be too early for you there, J-Boy. Australia is probably a couple of hours ahead of us. Sigurd saying, how's it, Davey? What are your thoughts on Bruno Fernandes? Cheers from Norway. Thanks for joining from Norway. So Bruno Fernandes, I don't think his price is too bad. I just think that it's looking a lot better because of how fewer options we kind of have in midfield. You kind of have De Bruyne, Salah, Sterling's been off form a little bit, Mane's there as well. So you can go for Son, but I think Spurs haven't been playing that well recently. So he does look quite attractive, but I just think that's because of the other options around him. But for me, it's going to be a wait and see. I don't think I'm at the point or the rank where I need to make that big of a differential. I think if you really maybe not looking good on your overall rank and you want to kind of make some strides, maybe if you are a Man United fan and that'll add some excitement to this new signing. Apparently he might play this game week. That's what I saw one journalist suggesting, that he could even start this game week, which would be quite interesting. But I do think that I would maybe take a little bit of a watch and see on him. Rami saying, please explain why would Vardy be benched? I don't really think he will be benched. I think it's too big of a game for him to be benched. The only thing is the whole Brendan Rodgers in his press conference, he said that he could potentially start. But then I think someone over on Twitter, I can't remember who exactly it was, they kind of rectified that by just saying that the journalist was like, so Vardy could potentially start. And then Rodgers just replied with that. So I do think that he will start. I think that's going to be a very good game to watch, but I think it might be a little bit boring. Then still have money in the bank to get Sadio back. So you're probably just saying that I should transfer Sadio out and then bring him back in. But I just think that's kind of a waste of a transfer. And that's the thing is, if I was to transfer Sadio out for one game week, I don't really think there's that many players that I am willing to take a one game week punt on. I just think that there's not that many great fixtures happening this week. And I think it's just more important. Hopefully he does start against Norwich. If he doesn't start against Norwich, then that's going to look like a bad move. But I'm pretty fine with just keeping him and playing whoever I have on the bench. Nahal saying, got the same strikes force as you and 3 million on the bank. Should I make any changes? So if you have 3 million, you could maybe upgrade Connolly. That'll probably be the move that I do make. George Constantino saying, Dayvy, I created a Twitter account just to follow you. I saw your follow this morning. So thanks for the follow there, George. I do appreciate it. Hey, Dayvy, is it the wrong time to wildcard? So the wildcard is probably the most subjective chip that we do have. I'm saying subjective because it really depends on your own personal team. I do think that this game week looked like quite an appetizing game week to go by. They have a couple of blank and double game weeks coming up. Not really that many confirmed ones. But I do think with the sea of red arrows that's been happening, I do think that it might be a little bit of a patience time to go by. As I said, if I was to transfer out Sadio Mane, there's not many players that I'd be looking at. And that kind of worries me a little bit. I want a wild card and I want to be completely sure of who I want to bring in. So for me personally, I usually use the wild card around the double game weeks and the blank game weeks. That allows me to navigate them a little bit easier. But that's just because I'm not that great with planning. So if you're really good at planning, then you can easily navigate those. And I don't really think there's ever a wrong time to wildcard. I mean, this season, people were wildcarding around game week 3. That's like ridiculously early to wildcard. So I don't think that there's necessarily a bad one. Will Abraham start? FPL says 50% chance. I do think that if he's not injury, like if he's injury free, he starts. But if he has a couple of niggles, then maybe not. I think that he's probably the best Chelsea striker, and I do think Frank Lampard prefers him out of all of these strikers. But I don't know how many people still own Abraham. If you still own him, I think you might as well just play him. I saw a comment here. Should I start Lundstrom or Aurier? Good morning from Greece. I think that you probably will start Lundstrom. If he doesn't play, I don't think he'll come off the bench. So just play Lundstrom and then have Aurier, whether it be your first or second position. Jimenez or Traore, I always favor Jimenez a little bit. Traore is quite a bit cheaper, so if you can afford kind of the upgrade, I would go for Jimenez. He's just that main attacking threat for them. Traore does do well, but he's seen a transition from goals to assists now. I think that's kind of how his impact is going to be on. So I think he'll be assisting Jimenez, and then Jimenez will probably get more points for those goals. Should I start Hayden or Kelly? I would probably start Hayden in that situation. I do think that Kelly is a punt to go for, but with his kind of benching worries, I think that you might as well just go for Hayden. Do you think Ings could score against Liverpool at Anfield? I do think that he could. I just think that I look at the game against Leicester, where they played absolutely out the park. And I do think that Liverpool, although they've been keeping some clean sheets, there have been a couple of chances recently that I do think if it was a better striker or a better finisher, they could have put those away. And I do think that player could be Danny Ings. So I'm playing him, so I'm probably going to be a little bit biased against that. But I just think I'm kind of forced to play him in at the end of the day. Not really comfortable with playing one of Connolly or Rico over him. If you still had your triple captain, when would you use it, says Lenny. I would use it in a double game week coming up. So I'm always a little bit skeptical on the whole situation with Man City. Their rotation kind of worries me a lot for my triple captain. So with the triple captain chip, you basically want to choose a player that is guaranteed 180 minutes. That's why I really was comfortable with the Liverpool options last game week, as I did think that both would start. But then with Man City, you always have that rotation in that kind of in place. So that's really a nice differential to go for. But I think maybe target Vardy, as he's probably guaranteed to start a lot of minutes there. I would just wait and see what the fixtures are. The fixtures are probably going to be quite late on in the game, in the season, so not much to play for in that case. So you want to be targeting kind of teams that go for top 4. The nice thing about those double game weeks, though, is that there's a lot of variety to go for. So when we talk about that whole differential factor of your triple captain, that usually comes into play and can prove quite fortuitous. I just want to get back to a comment I saw up here. It was, I can't remember what it was. It was okay. So this is a talking point that has been addressed a lot. So Sadio Mane is unlikely to start against Norwich too, since Liverpool have Atletico in the Champions League 3 days after the Norwich game. So with that logic, can't Salah or Trent Alexander-Arnold also be benched? If you saying that they're starting the Champions League game 3 days later, there's a couple of teams that also have Champions League fixtures in that game week. So I think that you can use that logic for anything. So I don't think it's an exact kind of subjective thing to put on Sadio Mane. I think you could say it about Mo Salah, you could say it about Alexander-Arnold, and if we're going to be kind of worrying about 3 players being rotated, then I don't know. So I'm really comfortable with kind of just playing Mane against Norwich and seeing what happens there. Why so early? It's just because I can't stream later on due to I'm not going to be having any power. Optimus Prime saying, how are you? I have one difficult. Who will I start, Mopai or Fleck? So I think you probably will start Mopai in that case. He's just a little bit more of a central threat for Brighton, so I would go for him. Mohammed saying, hey Dayvy, which 3 would you start? Holgate, Trent, Lundstrom, Williams, Tanganga. I would start Trent, number 1. In terms of other fixtures, I don't really know exactly. So Everton play against Watford. Lundstrom, I think you probably start Lundstrom. If he's benched, you can kind of easily get him off. I think with Man United against Wolves, I don't know if I'd be starting Brandon Williams. And then Tanganga against Man City is probably the least likely to play for, in my opinion. I wouldn't play him at all against Man City. So I would probably go your first 3, Holgate, Trent, Lundstrom. What to do with Mane? I'm probably just going to be holding Mane. If you have 2 free transfers, that looks quite a nice upgrade and downgrade. So downgrade Sadio Mane and then upgrade one of your strikers to the likes of Aubameyang or Aguero. I think Aguero is probably the better option, but Aubameyang is probably the more guaranteed minutes, is why I think I would probably lean a little bit more towards Aubameyang. Gavin Gold saying, transfer Vardy this week for Jimenez. Is it a silly move? So what I would do, Gavin, is I'd wait to see if we have any early transfer news. If we do have early, not transfer news, team selection news. If we do have early team selection news and Vardy's benched, then I would do that move. But if Vardy is starting, I don't see a reason why to transfer him out. I think I'd hold him for these next 2. You can, if you want to, transfer him out for the next 3 and then bring him back. But then if you don't have any money in him. But then Man United and Leicester, they're tougher fixtures for Wolves, but then they have a nice fixture against Norwich, which could be a nice one to go by. But I don't think that I would look at that. Lunatic Zach saying, I'm going to captain Grealish. That's probably the option that I want to captain. I'm kind of really tempted by it. I do think that Grealish is going to do well this game week. I think it's a mega differential to go by. So I do think if you want to kind of have a nice differential captain to go by, you can go for Grealish. But I'm probably going to go with Salah. I'm not seeing many captaincy questions this week, which probably tells to me that a lot of us are probably just going to go for Salah. I think it's just because of the fixtures. There's not many great fixtures outside of the Southampton at home game, which is, to be fair, a tough game week as well for Liverpool. But I do think out of the other teams, it's probably a little bit better. Buy Fernandez now, says Victor Jr. Only if you need a mega differential, I'll probably wait and see. How's it, Dayvy? Should I start Kelly or Sionku? I would go for Sionku. I know it's a tougher fixture, but I think that there's a little bit more of a potential of starting and maybe points with Sionku. I'd be really surprised, though, if Leicester do keep a clean sheet. Hey, Davey, how's your season so far? Better than expected. Say it's not too bad. I think 60k is relatively fine. I think I would have liked to have been a little bit closer to that top 10k. Maybe about 40k below that 50k mark. I think I would have been happy with that. 10k is still probably the position that I want to end up at the end of the season, which would be quite nice. But 63k, I'm not complaining, considering how the game weeks have kind of gone here. I've had a really bad run here, 4 kind of red arrows from 59k to 140. So not too bad, not big drops, but I would like to be a little bit closer to that top 10k as the season's progressing quite quickly now. And the later you leave it, kind of the harder it is to get into that top 10k. Hey, Davey, no electricity again tonight. Who should I start? Vincent, I have just before, so I basically, as soon as the deadline hits, I'll probably have power again, which is probably the worst time to have a load shedding because of the deadline with Dayvy stream. So I wanted to still get this out early. No worries if you can't watch it. I know a lot of people aren't available, so this will just be available on replay shortly after we end. Hey, Davey, Ward or Lascelles? I would go for Lascelles. Hey, Davey, what about Lo Celso as a punt? That could be a punt to go for. There's not many options. I'd say if you don't have Traore, get Traore, but otherwise you could look at some options like that. But I don't know about Spurs' fixtures. They're not that great. And you could maybe look elsewhere. But I'm not going to ever say no to a transfer that you kind of come with enthusiasm about. Should we take a chance on Newcastle defense? Good run of fixtures? I do think so. I think that we are allowed to take a punt on them because of how bad other teams have been. So Crystal Palace, they haven't kept a clean sheet in forever. Look at that. I think I brought Goita in about here or here. So I literally broke him. He hasn't got a clean sheet for me since I brought him in. Ali or Perez to start. I'd probably lean towards Perez. But Ali, you kind of can't bench him. So I would look at your team, maybe bench a defender for Ali. I don't think that you should ever be benching Ali. Burgess Win saying, hey, good work, love your channel. Thanks a lot, Burgess, appreciate it. Hey, Davy, Fleck or Ayu? I would probably lean a little bit more towards Ayu as it's a home fixture for them. Who would you bench, Rico Lundstrom or Evans? I'd bench Rico. Should I hedge my bets with Ings or should I go all in with Rico? So I'm personally going to play the odds here. If Liverpool keep a clean sheet, I still have Trent. And if Southampton score, it's probably going to be Ings. So I'm perfectly comfortable with kind of just playing Ings. But you can kind of go for whatever you want. I think that Rico could have some potential to score an assist. I don't think a clean sheet's going to be too likely against Aston Villa. But he does have that attacking threat. Whom to start, Ings or Fleck? I would probably go for Fleck in that situation. I don't know if I would be starting Danny Ings if I had better fixtures for my other teammates. I think it's going to be a tough fixture. It's probably the worst fixture to have in the Premier League at the moment. So I don't see any concern of benching him. I'm just kind of going for him because I kind of forced to. How's it, David from Zambia? Ings or Traore? I'd go for Traore. Aubameyang or Aguero? I'm leaning a little bit more towards Aubameyang. Early stream. Yeah, it's an early stream. Sneaky. Start Ings or Cantwell. I would if you have a team that allows you to bench Ings, then I think you can bench him. I don't think there's any concern. So I'd probably go for Cantwell in that one. Thanks for the great content. Wish you a good game week ahead. Appreciate it. Flamingred or Flamingred. I don't know how exactly to pronounce that, but hopefully it's a good game week for you too. Start Calvert-Lewin or Fleck. I think you lean towards Calvert-Lewin there. He's just more of an out there punt to go for. Probably going to be involved if Everton do score. Salah or Aubameyang for captain. I'd go Salah safety. Aubameyang if you want to go mega differential. Not mega differential, but a little bit differential. So if you want to make up some space, I would go for Aubameyang. Salah, Aubameyang would probably be the two captains that I do go for. Ings or Brandon Williams, I would probably lean a little bit more towards Ings. Ings or Mapai, please. I'd go for Mapai. Should I start Rico or Kelly? I prefer Rico for assists. What do you think? I would probably lean a little bit more towards Rico. The only reason I'm playing Kelly is because I already have Goita. So I'm hoping that they finally return a double clean sheet. Probably not going to happen, but I still have hope that they will. Ings or Sionku? I'd probably go for Sionku. Davey, if Vardy is benched, what would you do? Says Jared C. Well, I hope that if news does come out that he's benched, it'll be quite early on. Then I would have some time to kind of consider it. Can you please post your team on Twitter a little earlier today, please? I will post my team. I'll probably post my team, Jay, but then I'll have a disclaimer that if early team news does come out, then I might make a change. But I will definitely notify you guys. Because there's no deadline or Dayvy stream today, exactly before the deadline, I will be uploading my team to Twitter. So just stay tuned for that. So if you have to go, don't worry, you'll still see my team. And I'm not going to be keeping it from you guys. Robertson and Vardy out. Aubameyang and Sheffield United in. It's a tough one to go by. I don't think I would be looking at transferring out a Liverpool defender right now. So I don't think that kind of transfer is worth it. If Vardy doesn't start, then you could look at it. Hi, Dayvy. Transfer plan this game week. Probably just going to bank it. I'm not really keen on losing the likes of Mane. The only transfer that I could make probably is taking one of Kelly or Lundstrom to someone like Lascelles just for more certainty on starting positions. I think if Kelly's benched, it's going to be quite disappointing. As I'm not saying that Rico's the worst one to bring on, but I would rather not have him play. Hey, Dayvy, Aubameyang or Arnold to captain. So you're going for two differentials in the first place. So it's kind of a 50-50 to go for. I always favor the attacking player, so I'd probably lean a little bit more towards Aubameyang. What would you do if you had Martial? I'd probably just keep him. United's fixtures aren't the worst in the world. Martial's going to be that main attacking threat for them while Rashford's out injured. And maybe Bruno Fernandes absolutely unlocks that United team and they go on to become some attacking giant for the rest of the season. So I'll just keep an eye on that one. What do you think of Cantor's chances this week? I think that Newcastle are going to keep it quite tight at the back, especially because it is a home fixture for them. But I do think that Norwich, basically, they just play attacking football, so we could maybe see a goal for them. I would just probably play Cantor as a little bit of a punt. Should I start Calvert-Lewin or Traore or Martial? I don't really think that you'd want to be benching any of those players. So I would kind of maybe take a reassessment of your squad, and I'd probably want to play all three of those. My rank is 122k. Should I captain differential player or captain Salah? If your team is quite high owned, so the rest of your team, if you look at it, then you could maybe go for it. But otherwise, I think that you're not that far off. So if you think Salah's going to do well, then I would just kind of maybe lean towards him. Teesmeister saying good morning from England, Davey. How's it going, Teesmeister? I appreciate you joining in quite early for you over there in England. So I always appreciate you guys joining. Flying the flag for the staff is good on you. Appreciate it, Andrew. Sam saying, hey, Davey, where'd you get your early team news? I basically just get my early team news from Twitter. Not too exciting. It's not me that posted or me that has any sources. It's basically other accounts that usually post some team news. I saw that FPL Subscribe, one of the sources that I did have, he has kind of deactivated his account. It's a little bit disappointing. But maybe you'll see a heroic return today and pick up a new account or something like that. Hopefully, it's always nice to have that early team news. There was quite a bit of a debate on it a couple of weeks ago if it's actually fair. A double Liverpool defense or get Aguero instead of Vardy with one Liverpool defender. I do like that Liverpool defense. I don't think it's too bad. To me, it sees that you would be having another budget defender if you go for it. So I don't think that it's the worst kind of move to make if you want to lose Vardy. But I do think that over the entire season, I do think that Liverpool defense will prove quite profitable. Morning, Davey. What's your score prediction on Liverpool and City game? See you later. We'll listen on drive into work. As his elite FPL Stevo. So I think I went for the Man City game. I said 3-1 to Man City. For the Liverpool game, I think I also said 3-1 to Liverpool. Kind of just taking a little bit of a punt on Danny Ings. So hopefully he does do well. And then in terms of the Leicester-Chelsea game, I wanted to say 1-1 for that, but I think I went 1-0 Leicester. Hopefully your predictions are better than mine this week. Hi, Davey. Greetings from Derby, UK. Any plans on selling Mane? As don't think Klopp will risk him, says John Chapman. So my whole thing is I think that if he has a 2-week break and he's back from injury, he'll play. It might not be the full 90 minutes, but I'll take a 70-minute appearance. And I think the whole thing with kind of risking him, I think that you can kind of relate that to any player after this 2-week break, as they're all going to be in the same position. But I do think that there might be a little bit of a difference because obviously Mane has become injured. Greenwood, I would play Greenwood. I just take a little bit of a punt with him. I need to bench one from Adama Ali Perez. I would bench Ings in that case, Liron. Must have in a wild card, I'd say you must have one of either Aguero or Aubameyang. If you're going to be using your wild card, jump on that bandwagon. The thing about FPLs, you always kind of want to jump on bandwagons before they start scoring. And I think Aguero, although he's been doing well, Aubameyang's just come back from suspension, so that could be a nice little bandwagon to jump on. Geordie Kev with a 2 New Zealand dollars on wildcard with spare change. Lundstrom to Baldock Dayvy. I think you have to do that, Geordie Kev. Lundstrom's position's under fire now. They've just signed a new midfielder as well, so I do think that transfer is worth it. If you can't afford that transfer, I would just go for another Sheffield United defender. They're all pretty standard. Davey, which team you think will get a clean sheet? I think one of Crystal Palace or Sheffield United will get a clean sheet. So just kind of predict who you want in this team. I think that Newcastle have a potential to get a clean sheet as well. And I think this game will be quite high scoring, the West Ham-Brighton game. I think Man City could, but I don't think there's going to be many clean sheets this week. Unfortunately, that's just the situation we go for. FPL Dare saying, good day, mate. Best Salah replacement. Why are you replacing Salah? No, I'm joking. I know that your dares sometimes lead you into greener pastures there, FPL Dare. I'm glad that you could join us. I know it's a little bit earlier for you, so I did this for the Australian viewers. But I think for Salah replacements, I would probably look at maybe one of maybe Heung-min Son you could look at. Otherwise, you could always just downgrade him and maybe upgrade one of your strikers to someone like Aguero or Aubameyang. I think if you don't have Traore, you could look at him as a downgrade, but I don't really like the whole Salah downgrade, but I understand with your channel and how it goes. But it's a really tough spot to be in. As I said, there's not many players that I would look at. So that's why I'm keeping Sadio Mane, because I'm not really favoring any replacements for him. But I think probably I would look at maybe Son at that stage where he also hasn't really hit his peak yet. So if he does do quite well, they could see some nice price rises. Best long-term defender replacement for Lundstrom. Just get another Sheffield United defender, whoever you want. Is it a good time to bring in Fleck? I don't think it's a bad time to bring in Fleck. I think the best time would probably... actually, it's probably the best time to bring him in as they have some nice fixtures coming up, so you want to take advantage of that. Then Chantwood Fortress saying, with a £2 donation, saying Mane / Calvert-Lewin to Aubameyang and Decore / Almiron for a -4. That's a tough spot to be in. I don't really favor that move too much. It's a -4 to start off with, and then you're losing Mane. Calvert-Lewin could still do well, so I don't think that move's favorable in my opinion. I wouldn't do it. But if you really want to do it, I'm not going to be holding you back. Replacements for Saar, I'd say Grealish or Traore if you don't have him. Sean Lee saying, should I start 2 Sheffield United defenders or start only one with Martin Kelly? So if you have 2 defenders, just play them. I think you have to go with the odds on that one. And just kind of hope for the best and hope that Sheffield United get a clean sheet. Sionku, Cantwell or Ings for the bench, I'd go for Ings. Should I play Hayden instead of Aurier or Kelly? I would play Hayden instead of Aurier. I think that Man City will win today, and that's probably going to be a goal conceded. Ryan or Martin in goal, so Martin's not going to be playing, so I would just go for Ryan. Who should I start from Tarkowski, Ings, Snodgrass, and Sidibe? I would probably go for Sidibe. Thought on 3 Sheffield United defenders. I don't think that that's the worst decision to go for, but I think it's fine as long as one of them is Henderson. Reason being is that at least if they concede, he can still get some save points there. Barnes from Leicester could be a nice little enabler for you. He has been playing quite a lot recently, so I do think he's found his way into Brendan Rodgers' thoughts. Will Aguero start? I can't tell you that, unfortunately. He played midweek, so maybe not, but I do think it's a big game, and he usually does start the bigger games. What do you feel about bringing in Sander Berg? I do think it's a great transfer for Sheffield United, but I'll probably be on a wait and see for that one. Lundstrom or Lascelles to start. I would probably maybe lean... I would start Lundstrom and then just have Lascelles as your first kind of on the bench player. Sidibe, keep or sell? Probably a keep. Should I keep Mane having Salah as well? So that's what I'm doing. Why aren't you wildcarding, bro? I always use my wildcard closer to the double game weeks. I usually wildcard and then the next game week I bench boost. That's kind of been my plan since I've been playing FPL, except for my first season. I didn't really know what was going on then. T-Smarter saying, what are your plans for this week, Dave? Are you saving your transfer? I'm going to be saving my transfer. I just don't think there's many players that I want to bring in. And if I wanted to take out Mane and upgrade one of my strikers, To the likes of Aubameyang and Aguero, I would have to use a -4 hit, and I'm not too keen on that one. A Noble to Jorginho. Looks like a sideways move in my opinion. I don't think Jorginho is the best FPL option, but I'm not going to be telling you no if you really want to do it. But I mean, maybe look at the likes of Traore or Harvey Barnes, as someone mentioned, if you want to kind of go for a better player to go for. As Mohammed's saying, thought on Harvey Barnes. I do like him. Nice little cheap enabler, so you could go for him. Ox as a Mane replacement, what do you think? I think that Ox should be starting, but I think that maybe Keita will. If you saw before Keita's injury, he was starting quite a lot, but I do think that probably Ox is probably the preferred option, so you could maybe look at him. It's kind of a punt just to go for. You could even go for Henderson, maybe. Another $2 New Zealand there from Geordie Kev saying Ings versus Fleck, Traore versus Almiron this week. So I would go for Fleck and I would go for Traore. I don't think there's necessarily a bad thing to bench Ings. Tough fixture coming up, so Aubameyang or Vardy, I would lean a little bit more towards Aubameyang, but he is a lot more expensive. Maybe not that much more expensive if you bought him only recently, Vardy, as they're probably around the same price then, but I've invested quite a lot of money. D-Raj saying, need to head out from here, office hours. No worries. Mane and Greenwood to Traore and Alba, or Martial and Jimenez. I would probably favor Traore and Aubameyang. So if you want to make those moves, that's the option I would go for. If you really don't want to keep Mane, I would go for it, but I'm kind of leaning towards maybe just keeping him. Cantwell or Mapai, please. I would go for Mapai. And who should I start, Traore or Perez? I wouldn't really want to bench any of those, but I think maybe you would have to start Perez just because of the form that he's been in. Sidibe or Bellerin or Brandon Williams, I would probably go for Bellerin. I have to bench one of them. Who should I bench? Traore, Calvert-Lewin, Grealish, or Martial? I would probably go for Martial. I would probably go for Traore then, just because it's a top 6 clash, inverted commas. Will Morris play this week? I can't tell you that. If he does, he can have a chance of scoring. He's been playing quite well, but I don't think we can kind of predict any kind of lineups. Put Mane on just in case he starts. Okay, I will do that just for you. I'll put him on I'll put him on, and then I'll put Danny Ings #1 sub. So there we go. I'm not confident enough to captain him. Maybe I should do that as a little bit of a punt. Geordie Kev, no worries. Thanks for joining us from New Zealand. Hopefully it's a good game week for you too. Appreciate the donations today. What to do with Firmino? No Ings. I would just start Firmino. Not going to be the worst player in the upcoming game weeks. Liverpool have some nice fixtures. Have Maupay for a while, but want to put Cantwell in. I would just start Maupay. I think that he can do well this game week and has been on quite good form. But this is probably going to wrap up the video, guys. I will be uploading my team to Twitter later on. Hopefully I answered a couple of your guys' questions, and apologies again for it being so early on. Hopefully in the future game weeks, load shedding is not going to be too much of a problem. And otherwise, hopefully your game week is going to be absolutely splendid. And I'll check you guys later over on Twitter for the final team selection. And hopefully maybe there's some more content coming up in the near future. So thanks for joining. I appreciate all of you guys joining. We had a couple of people in here. So hopefully it was profitable for you. And I'll be checking you guys in the videos coming up shortly. I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.